Change of weather thing going on up here. So normally I hate using these things. Normally I prefer to just like get up and talk and I can project my voice, but why bother? So welcome. My name is Micah. I am a student recruitment officer for the University of Toronto. I've got you guys for about 45 minutes, and during that time I want to cover as much as I can about one of the biggest and best universities in the world. I'm sure you can appreciate that there's a lot of stuff that we need to talk about, a lot of good things that I want to be able to tell you about. And so in order to do this in as efficient a manner as possible, I'm just going to kind of fly through all the relevant information. If you have any questions at all, see if you can just hang on to them and let me know at the end of the presentation. I know that some of you might have to go running off to class. I, on the other hand, do not. I can give you all afternoon if necessary. I can stick around for as long as you can to make sure that your questions get answered, because that's what I'm here for. So I'll let you and your teachers work out how that works itself out at the end of the period. Now, one other thing before we get started, if you guys don't mind, I know these things are sometimes a little bit annoying, but I'm going to pass around this little book. If you guys can just rip off a page, it looks like the first two or three have already fallen off. Scribble down your name, your email address, what type of program you think you're interested in. And not only does it help us keep track of who we spoke with and who's interested in UofT and general numbers, but more importantly, now we know who you are, and we can invite you to our open house events and give you directions and what time to show up and where to park and all of that stuff. If there's anything relevant going on in the application cycle with this, we can now keep you in the loop. So if you don't mind, just rip one off, scribble out your information, and pass the book around. I'd appreciate it. I'm going to start it right off with Mr. Front Row. Okay. So we are here to find out about the University of Toronto. It's a pretty exciting place. Before I jump into the UofT, I always like to begin by just taking one quick step backwards. And to put UofT into perspective, we are one out of 21 universities in the province of Ontario. And it might surprise you to hear this coming from me, but every one of those 21 universities are absolutely amazing. They're awesome. I love them. I'm envious of each and every one of them for whatever it is that they do and what they can offer you. The experiences that you have available to you inside the classroom, outside of the classroom, they are going to be different, but they're going to be amazing at any one of the Ontario universities. You cannot go wrong if you are going to university in Ontario. There are no bad programs and there are no bad universities, and so again, you can't make a bad choice unless you're making the choices for the wrong reasons. So researching and choosing a university and figuring out what to apply to, there are a lot of different considerations. And I'm going to walk you through some of those and how they are relevant at the University of Toronto. Now, first of all, when you are doing your research and you start looking at the University of Toronto, right away you're going to notice that we do things just a little bit differently than most other universities. So since the beginning of UofT about 200 years ago, we have been a research-intensive university. We attract the best researchers in the world who come to UofT to find answers to the world's questions. So we look at the universe and we look at everything in it and we ask these big questions, and our questions are things that nobody in the world has the answer to, and we then try and find the answers to those questions. That's the research that's done at the UofT, and that brings us to the University of Toronto legacy of discovery. So what you find is that from the beginning of time, the beginning of the university's history, the biggest inventions, the biggest innovations, the devices, the inventions, the cures for diseases or the treatments for illnesses, and the things that allow us to live the lifestyle that we now take for granted, some of these things all took place at the UofT. And that adds to the reputation that the University of Toronto brings elsewhere in the world. So speaking of that reputation, we are considered to be one of the top universities in the world. There's all kinds of different rankings, lots and lots of different rankings. Everywhere you look, there's some sort of an organization that is trying to rank the universities in some sort of an order. UofT usually does fairly well on most of these rankings. But I'll be honest with you, most of these rankings are pretty useless. And the criteria that is considered when they came up with the ranking doesn't really tell us anything relevant, and so we don't take them very seriously. But some of the rankings are actually really well done. And the one that we like the best, the one that we're very proud of, is Times Higher Education. Because it's been around for a long time. They do this every single year. Every single year they will look at the best universities in the world. They normally shortlist about 200 of the best universities in every major country.
Nathaniel, please report to the office.
And what they want to consider, Times Higher Education will consider the quality of the teaching, among many, many other things, but the quality of the teaching. So they will consider how good are the professors, how much do they know about what they're teaching, how much research do they do, how many publications do they make, and how many awards do they win. That's half of the equation. The other half is you guys, the students. Are you learning what we're teaching you? Are you taking that information, that knowledge? Are you applying it to real things? Are you getting good jobs? Are you doing your own research? Are you making your own publications? Are you getting your own rewards? And if you consider the quality of the learning, the quality of the teaching, U of T is consistently one of the best universities in the world. Last year, we were ranked number 19 in all of the world, which is number 1 in Canada. That slide is actually out of date. We have fallen, I'm sorry to say, it shames me just a little bit, to 21st position. We are now the 21st best university in the world, but still the number 1 university in Canada by a long shot. We are still ranked the best university in Canada. So let's take a look at some of the relevant numbers about what it's going to be like for you at the University of Toronto. First of all, in terms of the quality, I mentioned we attract some of the best researchers in the world. Ask any university how many Nobel Prize winners they have on staff or have ever had on staff while those people were doing the research that led to the most prestigious award in the world. How many universities have any Nobel Prize laureates? Most universities would say, none. That would be nice. Well, U of T claims 10. We have 10 people that have been at U of T doing their research, teaching students, and went on to win the most prestigious award in the world. Every university's got a library. This is a very significant portion of the student life. You will spend a lot of time in your university library, and we put a lot of resources into our libraries. The University of Toronto doesn't just have one library. We don't just have 3, but in fact we have 42 different libraries. And if you add up the resources to 42, we have over 20 million resources available to you, making us one of the top 3 library systems on the planet. So this is pretty convenient when you're doing your research and you're trying to find some information that's out there to try and teach yourself so that you can then write your paper, do your project, or do your assignment. One of the 3 biggest library systems available to all UT students with a few clicks of your mouse in the comfort of your bedroom. You don't even physically have to go to the library anymore because it's all electronic. So that's a pretty cool fact. What do we have available to you to study, to learn about? What can you do inside of the classroom? We have over 700 different programs. And if you think about that, almost anything you can imagine, anything you can dream of, anything you can think about, we've got it. We've got a course, we've got a program. It's something that you can choose to learn about at the University of Toronto. One of my favorite facts that I want to point out right now is that when you're at the U of T, in most cases, you don't have to know exactly what you're going to major in, what you're going to minor in, whether or not you want to specialize your major. All of that sort of emerges as you're going through your first year. You declare your major at the end of your first year. So you have access to over 700 programs and thousands of courses, and you can take anything in the world that you want. Anything. Go nuts, shop around, explore all we have to offer academically. You're going to be like a kid in a candy store, and that's great. Now, mind you, some of you already know exactly what it is you want to study. No problem, you can choose that. You'll take whatever relevant courses are available, and there's still room left in the schedule to take other courses just for the fun of it. So with the sheer size of our offerings, it gives you flexibility of going in any direction you possibly want. Outside of the classroom, have a good time, get involved, do stuff, have fun, make some friends. We have over 700 different clubs available to you. 700 different organizations, things that you can do just for the fun of it. Any hobbies that you might have, anything that you like to get involved in, we've got it. And that's a really strong aspect of your student life. So I'm sure that you guys are fairly familiar with the city of Toronto, right? We're all from Toronto, basically, or we're living here now. And I'm sure that you've done some exploring in the city of Toronto over your lifetime or over the last few years or whatever. You know that the city of Toronto is a pretty huge, massive city. What you may not know yet, some of us do, some of us might not, even though it's such a huge city, sometimes it doesn't feel like it, because you live in a nice little neighborhood, and everything you really need is going to be fairly close to home. So you can go to school and you can work, and you can shop, you have entertainment, and you can do everything you need in your own neighborhood. So even though you live in the biggest city in Canada, you're not necessarily zigzagging all over this huge city on a daily basis trying to get everything done, because everything is done close to home. Now, I described the city of Toronto before I described the University of Toronto because we are a huge university. Let's face it, UofT is the biggest university in Canada, but it doesn't feel like it when you're on campus because it's a university made up of small, intimate little communities. We want all of our students to feel like they belong to a nice, small, friendly, intimate community. We want all of our students to walk around and to know people by name, and those people know you by name. And you have easy and fast access to resources and services that you need to do well. That's the way we want your experience to look like, and so we've got all of these little neighborhoods. Now, I don't have time to describe the little mini neighborhoods because there's so many of them, but I just want to take a moment to talk about the three biggest neighborhoods that make the University of Toronto what it is, and this is, of course, the three different campuses. So we'll go through each of the three, starting with the one in downtown Toronto. This is, of course, the St. George campus. It's the oldest one of the three, it's the largest one of the three, and there's a lot more programs available. You would probably be attracted to this campus if you were a natural-born downtown person. And those people, you typically know who you are. You go downtown and you just have the time of your life. You love it. You're close to all the action. It's big, it's busy, it's noisy. You feed off of that energy. You can't get enough of it. That's where you want to be. Then this is going to be the best university in the world for you. However, let's face it, not everybody loves that environment. And it's nice to know that you can get the best possible education available in a nice, small, friendly, intimate community in some of the other campuses. So you've got the UofT Missisauga, or UTM, out in the West End. This is considered a mid-sized university. There's over 11,000 students at that campus. It's located on about 250 acres, which means everything that you need is going to be right there at that campus, but the whole environment, the whole feel, the community, the vibe is going to be different at that campus than at St. George. The third of the three campuses, we've got the UofT Scarborough, or UTSC, and this one is probably closest to where you live. It's closest to where we are right now, anyway. This is also a mid-sized university. There's about 11,000 students at that campus as well. It's actually located on 300 acres of really beautiful parkland. So it's a different community, a different feel to it, but it is still the University of Toronto. And that brings me to my next point. No matter which campus you go to, you are exposed to the absolute best in everything. There's absolutely no difference whatsoever in terms of the quality of anything. But most importantly, the quality of your education, the quality of the programs and the courses, the quality of the professors.
Mr. Will, please go to room 149. Mr. Will, please go to room 149. Ms. Proctor, please contact the main office. Ms. Proctor.
Hard to compete with that. The resources, the services, the facilities at all three campuses are part of the UofT, and they are yours to take advantage of. So as a University of Toronto student, all resources are yours, no matter which campus they go to. And as a UofT student, no matter which campus you go to, you're getting a University of Toronto degree. The degree doesn't say which campus you went to. So it's nice to know that you are part of the overall University of Toronto, regardless of which community you find is your home. So now, of course, we want to take a close look at the programs available at the University of Toronto. As I mentioned earlier, there's over 700 of them, and it would probably take me about 700 minutes to describe them, even just briefly. So, of course, I can't do that in any amount of detail. What I do want to do is give you a snapshot.
Please come to the office.
I want to give you a snapshot of the programs available at each of the three campuses. I want to try and focus or highlight some of the unique programs, because ultimately what you're going to find is at UofT, you're going to find programs that are available at the other universities, but you're also going to find things that are not available anywhere else that are really special only at UofT, and it's up to you to choose which one is the right one for you. So let's take a quick look at UofT Scarborough. We'll start there. There's over 180 unique programs at the UofT Scarborough, UTSC. Over 180 programs, so a wide range of arts, sciences, and business. Now, business is a pretty popular program. Many of us are interested in studying business, and so, you know, a lot of people will come up and ask me, well, what's the name of your business program, or what's your business programmer like, or can you describe the business program? Well, University of Toronto, we don't just have one business program. In fact, we have two, and they are completely different from each other. So for those of you interested in business, let's take a quick look at what these two programs are. Your options are commerce and management. All right, so I'm going to talk about commerce in a minute, because right now we're taking a look at UofT Scarborough, home to the original management program at UofT and the original BBA, Bachelor of Business Administration. This is a world-renowned, highly reputable, powerful University of Toronto business degree, the BBA. It teaches you all things business. It gives you a solid grounding, a solid foundation in everything that is business, what is business, and how does it work. And out of every little subcategory, subfield, or every different type of business, you're exposed to them all, and you get to choose whether or not to specialize in any one particular field of business. Or not. You don't have to, because you can remain comprehensive and do a little bit of everything. So if you're interested in accounting, or economics, or finance, if you're interested in marketing or human resources, strategic management, management in international business, management in information technology, then this might be a great program for you. The overall theme to the program that you're going to keep coming back to throughout the 4 years is leadership. What does it mean to be a leader, to be the boss, to be the manager? That's why it's called management. So problem solving, decision making, making those effective decisions, motivating your employees, making sure that everything is as efficient as possible so that you and your company are earning maximum profit. That's the basic theme to the management program. The original one is at UofT Scarborough. What else could you find at UofT Scarborough? Well, there's some very unique programs there. There's a lot of programs there that you'll find at the other campuses or at the other universities. For those of you interested in healthcare, this is the only paramedicine program, the only university paramedicine program in all of Canada. If you are interested in journalism, it's the only one at the University of Toronto. And for those of you in the life sciences, if you're interested in life, biological sciences, the study of living things, then there's lots of different programs available other than just your plain old human biology. There's other biologies as well. UTSC has combined a few very popular and exciting program areas into one called Biodiversity, Ecology, and Evolution. And the students in that program spend a lot of time at the Toronto Zoo. We have a very strong partnership with them, and they are actually studying evolution and biodiversity at the zoo. So that's something that some of you might be interested in. If you're interested in psychology, there's a very unique psychology program at UTSC called Mental Health Studies. Why do we do what we do? What influences our behavior? Why do we act the way we do? So mental health studies would examine things like nature versus nurture. You know, why is a serial killer so bad? Is it because they were abused as a child? Is it their parents' fault? Is it the way they were nurtured? Or are they just a psychopathic that doesn't understand the difference between right and wrong? Is it their nature? That's the type of thing you would do in mental health studies. And that's the only one of its kind in all of North America, is normally you need a master's degree to start studying that, and it's usually referred to as clinical psychology. Excuse me. Now, there's one other thing I want to point out about UofT Scarborough. It's the only one of the 3 campuses that offers formal co-op programs. This is an exceptional opportunity. I will describe in detail in just a few minutes. But right now, let's take a quick look at UofT Missisauga, where there are over 120 unique programs, over 120 programs in arts, in the different sciences, and in business. Now, I described the management program. Let's take a look at UofT's other business program. It's called Commerce. Commerce leads to a BCom or a Bachelor of Commerce, and it takes a completely different approach to the study of business. It's not as broad. You don't get exposed to as many areas of business because it focuses very early on finance and all things financial. And what is finance after all but money, and all things related to money. So commerce is what helps you understand what really goes on inside of banks and the banking industry. Understanding the stock market and investments. There's a lot of analysis, data analysis, and looking at the trends. Telling people where they should put their money so they get a greater return on investment in the future. If you enjoy the mathematics and the number crunching, if you're interested in the stock market or investments or banking, then the commerce program might be the right one for you. So there is a commerce program at UofT Missisauga. There is also a management program at UofT Missisauga. So that campus has both business programs for those of you interested in studying business. What else is unique at UofT Missisauga? One of my absolute favorite programs at the UofT. If I had to go back to school right now, I think I would choose this. It's called CCIT, or Communication, Culture, and Information Technology. Basically, it examines social media, social networking, new technologies, and how it influences our behavior, how it affects our culture. So, for example, did you realize that Facebook, Twitter, and the possibility of sending text messages literally has changed our culture, who we are? We are different people than we were a few years ago because of these technologies. So analyzing this, understanding this, researching this, manipulating this, learning how to develop apps, learning how to come up with strategies to reach out to new markets that you never had access to before is very high in demand, and every company that I can think of is begging for you to like them on Facebook or follow us on Twitter, and so the CCIT grads are getting really great jobs. I'm just saying. What else is unique about UofT Missisauga? Those of you interested in the sciences, perhaps you'd be interested in forensic science. This is the original program in Ontario. Basically, UTM created the academic study of analyzing the evidence taken from crime scenes. With the popularity of shows like CSI, other universities jumped on the bandwagon. There's lots of good forensic programs out there, but the biggest one and the original one is at UofT Missisauga. Something to keep in mind. And that brings us to St. George campus, downtown Toronto. Now, there's not just one little group here at St. George, but in fact there are 5 different faculties, and I'm going to describe all of them. I'm going to start with the biggest one of the 5. This one is referred to as the Faculty of Arts and Science, and it is home to over 300 different programs in the arts, in the sciences, and, once again, business. Now, we've now heard about the 2 different business programs at UofT. Scarborough has management. UofT Missisauga has both commerce and management. St. George is home to the Rotman Commerce program. So commerce is very similar at Missisauga and St. George, but the Rotman Commerce program has been around for a little bit longer and is a little bit bigger. So those of you interested in commerce, you've got the 2 options, St. George or Missisauga. If you're interested in management, you've got 2 options, Scarborough or Missisauga. Now, there are, with over 300 programs, you're going to find lots of programs at that campus that are available at the other campuses and at other universities, but you're also going to find a huge number of very unique programs. Too many for me to even highlight to you because there's just so many cool options there. So my advice, pick up the UofT View Book, get a highlighter, look at the list of the programs, see if something doesn't just jump off the page at you, and you can then start to narrow down your search that way. One thing I do want to point out about the Faculty of Arts and Science, it is huge, it is a gigantic faculty with a lot of programs, therefore there's a lot of professors, there's a lot of offices, there's a lot of students, a lot of buildings, and it's just very, very big. Remember when I was talking about the importance of a sense of community? We take that very seriously and we want all of our students to have that sense of community. At Scarborough, Missisauga, that just happens naturally, it's easy, you're in a smaller environment. But in the Faculty of Arts and Science, it would not happen very easily because of its size. So we've taken that big faculty and divided it up into 7 smaller categories. The colleges. Don't be confused by the word college. It's not an academic division. It doesn't affect or limit what courses or what programs you can take. You can study anything you want, you can go in any direction you want academically, but if you're in the Faculty of Arts and Science, you must belong to one of the 7 colleges. So if they're not academic, you can belong to any one of the 7. You choose it based on the identity, based on its characteristics and what you think you might be comfortable with. Some are big, some are small, some are older, some are newer, some have religious associations, some don't, so you want to choose the one that you like best. Ultimately, it doesn't matter which one you're in, but this is your home base, it's where you hang out, it's your little neighborhood when you're at the University of Toronto, it's where you access resources and services, and if you choose to live in residence, then your college literally will be your home away from home, so you really do have to know what it is you're getting yourself into. You choose the college you want together with your initial application to university. So it's something to consider right now. What am I going to study? Where do I want to go? And if it's arts and science at St. George, which college do I want? And all of that has to be decided on your university application, okay? Now, there's 4 other faculties I want to mention quickly. Those of you that think when you grow up you might want to become an architect, we've got a faculty of architecture. This would be the obvious choice for some of you. However, it might be a less obvious choice for others that don't necessarily want to become architects. But if you're interested in design, if you're interested in graphic design, interior decorating, landscaping, decorating golf courses or gardens, if you're interested in urban planning, urban organization, anything that needs a creative look at the aesthetics and the organization of anything, then this would be a good faculty for you, only offered at the St. George campus. Anybody interested in engineering? This is usually a fairly popular choice, so there's a few of us that are looking at going to engineering. This is consistently ranked the #1 engineering program in Canada. In case there was any doubt, yes, this is the #1 program. There are a number of reasons why. I'll tell you one reason. This is my favorite reason. This is what I like best about UofT engineering. It's the only engineering program in Canada that has an intensive focus on design all 4 years of the program, including your first year. Ask any other university how much design you do in your first year, and they will say none. We're the only ones that do that. So you will take a design course, you will meet with a real client, your client has a real problem. You and your team will think about it, you will come up with an idea, you will build it, you will test it, you will fix it, and you will present that to your client, solving their problem, letting them live happily ever after, and you get a credit for it. Real engineering, real design in all 4 years, only at UofT. Now, there's about 10 different ways you can apply to engineering. Some of you know which stream of engineering or which type of engineering you would like best. So we've got 8 core programs. Perhaps you could apply directly to one of those 8. However, some of you might not know which one you want, and so you might choose the general first year. There's no disadvantage to being in the general first year. You're still designed to be completed in 4 years. You just choose what you want to begin specializing in time for your second year. There's one other program that I skipped over. It's called Engineering Science, and this is a very elite program for those of you up for a challenge. Looking for the most advanced program, looking for the most challenging program. Engineering Science is very unique, it's very special, and it basically prepares you to be a specialist in any type of engineering. All types of engineering at the same time. So when everybody else is focusing on one particular stream, you are getting that broad foundation you need to understand all things engineering anywhere. Basically, it's the research that allows engineers to do what they do. When somebody says it's impossible, it can't be done, it's our engineering scientists that say, hold on a second, let's take a look at this, and they unlock the problem and they create the solution. So that's available at UofT. No other university has a program quite like that before. That brings us to the Faculty of Music. For those of you that have a musical background, you've developed a bit of talent, you've got a passion for music, and you now decide it's not just a hobby, it's not just something you do in your spare time, this is something you want to take very seriously, and you want to make a career out of it. So if you want to be a professional musician, an artist, a singer, if you want to be a composer, a conductor, a musicologist, or a musical teacher, or anything else that requires the background, then this is the best faculty for you, only available at St. George. Last but not least, we've got Kinesiology, for those of you interested in any aspect of sport, such as sport management, sport medicine, exercise science, developing your skills as an athlete or as a coach or as a personal trainer, and understanding our bodies and what happens to our bodies when we have a good, healthy, active lifestyle. Or, perhaps in my case, what happens when you don't have a good, healthy, active lifestyle. They're the ones that know what's happening there. Great preparation for careers in healthcare. If you want to go to physiotherapy, occupational therapy, nursing, if you want to go to medicine itself, chiropractor, if you want to go into coaching or personal training, gym teacher, this is the place for you. All right, now I want to play a little game with you guys. It requires a little bit of imagination, and I want you all to jump into your own little personal time machine, and I want you to travel in the future 1 or 2 years. So you're no longer in high school, you've all been through the application process, you've all gotten in, you're now University of Toronto students. Congratulations. You're in class at the UofT. You are now in class at the University of Toronto. Envision what that looks like. What does that feel like? You're a U of T student. Look around, what type of room are you in? How many people are in there? How big is it? And who's teaching the class? I'll give you a hint, it's not me. Where are we going with this little demonstration? Most of you probably have one type of thing in mind. Big. That's the stereotype, right? So look at the room we're in right now. This is an auditorium used for special events and presentations. For us, this is a classroom. We have some pretty big classrooms. Not gonna lie to you, we do. You will be in them. You will have some big classes. I'm not sure how many people fit in this auditorium. Anybody know?
890.
890? Oh, that's okay. At the Scarborough and the Missisauga campus, the biggest classroom is 500, but you will be in it frequently. St. George, on the other hand, has a few bigger than that. In fact, most people will have at least a few courses in Convocation Hall, which seats, you ready for this? 1,500. Can you imagine being in class with 1,500 people? No, you probably can't. But you try. You try to imagine yourself being in class with 1,500 people, and here's what you're thinking. You're going to be some random, nameless, voiceless person up at the top. You'll never get your questions answered. You'll never have any personal attention. Your prof will never know anything about you. You're basically going to be sitting and listening to somebody speak for 4 years and expect to learn from that. It sounds awful. That would be terrible, and I promise you we would not be the best university in Canada if that were our style. Yes, we have large classes. Guess what? They are lectures. There's nothing interactive about them. They're not supposed to be interactive. We don't start a lecture by saying, okay, who did their homework last night? Any questions about that? Yes, you at the back. What do you think? Okay, let's divide up into groups and start discussing last night's readings. It doesn't happen. We come into the lecture and we start telling you a little bit about what we dedicated our lives to studying. We're giving you the theoretical background, the foundation, the knowledge base that you need to get up and leave that lecture and to go into a nice, small, intimate lab or tutorial or seminar or to begin your research or to do a co-op or an internship or to do something that involves getting your hands dirty, because you're not going to learn anyway if you don't. You can't just hear about stuff or read about it or think about it or listen to it and expect to learn anything. So UofT is all about, sure, you're going to take some large classes, but then you're going to go into these nice little communities where you discuss it and argue it and negotiate it and dissect it and build it and destroy it and set it on fire and blow it up or whatever it is you need to do to learn everything there is to learn about it. That's important. Now, another thing you should know about. You're never going to learn anything if you don't ask questions. Ask questions, questions, questions. Every step of the way, every class, every year, get to know your profs. They are passionate about what they're teaching. They want you to learn. They want to know what you're good at, what you're having trouble with. They want to help you, but you have to make yourselves known to them. They're not going to go knocking on your door saying, yeah, so you're in my first year class, let's just have a meeting and sit down and chat. You knock on their door. Get to know them. What are you interested in? What do you research? Wow, that's fascinating. I like that too. Well, in that case, come on into my lab and we can work together. That's the type of relationships that you have to build with them. They will make every effort to reciprocate, but it starts with you. But they do want to get to know you, so that's something to keep in mind. Now, the University of Toronto has always been fond of this style of learning referred to as experiential learning, which roughly translates to learning by doing. You got to do it to learn. So there are lots of different ways on all the different campuses that we can focus on experiential learning. I want to highlight my favorite way. Some students will absolutely take advantage of this, not all will, so let's take a look. At UofT Scarborough, there's about 50 different co-op programs. How does this work? Spanning the arts, the science, and the management program, you get real-world experience in the companies that you've always imagined yourself working for. You could be in the accounting firms, or the big banks, the multinational corporations, different levels of government, hospitals, pharmaceutical companies, and so on. They're the ones that are hiring our students. The co-op coordinators arrange those positions, give you a wide range of jobs that are secure. You choose which job you want, and then you go and take it, but they're all closely associated with whatever it is you're studying. It's designed to be completed in 4 years, so it doesn't take longer to graduate, and yet somehow magically, it doesn't take anything away from the academic component. It's the exact same program as a non-co-op equivalent, except with all of these added benefits and features. And best of all, when you're doing your work terms, you're not just job shadowing, you're not just following people around or doing meaningless tasks. You're working on real projects, you have real responsibilities, you get a real paycheck. This is not just minimum wage, but it's pretty decent money. Art students have 2 work terms, 4 months each, total of 8 months. In those 8 months, they usually earn between $10,000 and $20,000. Science and business students have 3 work terms, 4 months each, total of 12 months, and they're making between $20,000 and $30,000 in your program. Great experience, great confidence, great references, great opportunity, great money, so there you go. One of my other absolute favorite opportunities, all students at UofT are encouraged to take advantage of, study abroad. Doesn't matter which campus you go to, doesn't matter which program you're in, all UofT students are encouraged to study abroad. We partner with over 130 universities located in over 50 different countries around the world, where you can study a summer abroad, or a semester abroad, or even a full year abroad. You get to choose from over 50 countries. Any student can do this. I did it. I spent a year in another country. It was the greatest thing I ever did. It absolutely changed my life. It made me a different person. And so, of course, now I'm completely biased that I wish everybody had this opportunity. Something that I really want you to consider. Okay, what's next? What is your student life going to be like when you're at the UofT? What's it going to feel like to be a UofT student? I'll do my best to describe it, but the very first question is, okay, you're a student at UofT, where are you living? I hope you take advantage of a residence guarantee. All first-year students are guaranteed a spot in residence at all 3 campuses. Whenever I'm in the GTA, I know that residence isn't the most popular thing. How many of you are thinking about living in residence? And not a hand goes up. Okay, we got one little one thinking about it. It is a shame. It is something I would strongly encourage you to think about. Take a look at it, include it in your research, talk to mom and dad about it. It might be a very short conversation that sounds something like, no, you're staying at home right now. Or, hey, let's just take a look at that and see what's going on. But it's another one of my personal biases because I lived in res for 2 years. And I can't think of a better way to really experience university than to be immersed in it 24/7, close to all the action. Not to mention the convenience of being, right there, not having to waste time commuting. It's just something that's available. So we do guarantee a spot in residence. Have you guys ever heard a rumor about students that get to the university? They've always had high marks, easily. They get the offer of admission easily, maybe even they get the scholarship. These are your top-notch students. And they get to the university, and all of a sudden, what starts happening? Their marks start dropping. Have you ever heard that rumor before? Maybe? No? Never? All right, the question is that true? Does that really happen? Yes. Yes, it does. Sorry to say. Not flat rate going to happen at everybody, but it does happen to many people, unfortunately. But we tend to hear the bad news a lot. We never really hear the good news. Did you know that the complete opposite happens to many people as well? There are people that really struggle and really work hard in high school to get the marks they need to get into university, touch and go there, not sure if they're going to get the offer, they do get it, yay. And once they start the university for the first time in their lives with minimal effort, I'm getting straight A's. That happens to many people as well. Why do these things happen? Do you think that university really is so much harder than high school? I don't. Do you think that university is a lot more work than high school?
Yes.
I don't. Most people do. It's maybe a little bit more work and a little bit harder, but it's the same thing as going from one grade to the next. From kindergarten to grade 1, from grade 8 to grade 9, grade 11 to grade 12, and you're a year older and you're up for the challenge. Graduating high school, starting university, it's basically the same thing. However, it is very different than high school, and everybody learns in different ways, and sometimes, unfortunately, you get to university, and all of the successful strategies you've developed your whole life stops working. They don't work anymore. And you have to learn how to learn all over again. That happens to many people as well. There is another rumor that I hear from time to time, and I hate this one. This one kind of hurts my feelings, and I'll tell you right now, it is false. It's not true, it doesn't happen, it doesn't exist. But people believe that we have some sort of a cruel system that I've come to refer to as academic Darwinism. Survival of the smartest. So we offer you admission, but then we make things so hard that some people are gonna fail, and we expect that, and don't let the door hit you on your way out, suckers. Let's focus on the real smart people now. It's not like that. I promise you it's not like that. If we offer you admission, it's because we see the potential in you, and we know you've got what it takes. The hardest part is getting in. Once you're there, you've got everything you need to exceed, to succeed, to do well, to meet and to succeed your potential. And we want to help you if you need the help. We want you to make that transition. We want you to adjust to what's expected of you. We want everyone to move on to bigger and better things. Because you know what happens when you move on to bigger and better things? When you go on to win the Nobel Prize or whatever it is you do, we will brag about you. And we will claim you as our own. We taught that person everything they know. They were a UofT student, and look at the great things they're doing now. We want everyone to succeed. We're not failing people on purpose. If you are having a hard time with anything, it's not your fault. Well, of course it could be if you're just clowning around all the time. But if you are putting the effort in and you're not getting the results, we're there to help you out. The support services at the UofT are second to none, free, confidential, and they're there to help you out. They've heard it all before, they know what's happening, they can identify the problems and show you what you're doing wrong. Something to consider. Another thing, when you're at the university, please don't be one of those students to go to class and then go running straight home. And the next day you go to class and then you go straight home. And every day you go to class, you go straight home. That is pretty boring, and I think that you're really missing out on what the experience should be. Sure, going to class is important. Sure, whatever we're teaching you is important. That's ultimately going to get you the degree. But the experience is all of that other stuff going on. Everything you do, everywhere you go, everyone you meet, it all contributes to your learning. So get involved, have a good time, join the clubs. Maybe you're interested in the arts, even though you're not studying art. You're a science or an engineering student, but get on stage, act, sing, be in the band. You know, be a photographer for the newspaper, write for the newspaper, DJ for the campus radio station, join the clubs, whatever it is you enjoy, whatever you're interested in, do it. We've got other people that share your interest. Get involved. I'll give you 2 reasons why. Number 1, you're going to have a good time, you're going to make lots of friends, you're going to be happy. And when you're happy, you're motivated. You're motivated, you work hard, you do better, you're going further, you're more successful, which is why you're going to university in the first place. So do yourself a favor. Reason number 2, because by the time you graduate, lots of other people will have graduated as well. And everyone's in competition for that dream job. And the employer will say, yeah, you went to UofT, awesome, we know you're a smart person, good for you. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Do you have good communication skills? Proven. Interpersonal skills? Proven. Time management skills? Proven. Well, I went to class and went straight home. When I went to class and went straight home, I got straight A's. Okay, that's nice. Don't call us, we'll call you. Well, I got involved in this, I did some of that, I did that, the other thing, and I got involved in whatever, and you joined the clubs, you had a good time, you made friends, you're successful, you have the skills that employers are really looking for. You have the advantage. You get the job. Consider that. So get involved. If it's sports, we've got you covered there. Oh, I'm pointing at the wrong thing. I'm usually this side of the projector, so at a half I'm pointing up here. If you're interested in sports or athletics, we've got over 40 different varsity teams where you get to compete against other universities representing UofT. Over 40 of them. Think about that. I don't even know 40 sports, but we have over 40 varsity teams. If you want to get involved in athletics, but not quite that level of competition, we've got the intramural sports. We have a huge percentage of our students involved in that. Is that the end of the period? Nah, I'm not done yet.
Let's let my dentist wrap up, and then we'll go back and we can announce it.
And if your teacher says, where were you? Like, I'm learning about university, and then just walk through that.
I promise I'll make it worth your while, because next we're talking about admissions, scholarships. Okay? I will try and hurry up though. I won't tell as many awesome stories. Okay. Sports, we got it. What does it take to be a U of T student? Because if all of this sounds fun, you want to be involved, what do you need to apply? Well,
Guys, have a seat for a little bit.
We have Mr.
yeah, people.
The class is going to come in here, so we need to run.
There's a class meeting. I'm just going to keep on going then. Thanks for joining us. For those of you that have to leave, I apologize, but